For nearly 600 years, this small painting has captivated and confused everyone who studies it. At first glance, it appears simple, just two people standing in a room holding hands. But the deeper you look, the more questions emerge. Is this a wedding portrait? A memorial to the dead? A legal document disguised as art? Why is one candle lit while another has burned out? Who are the mysterious figures reflected in the mirror? And the question that has sparked the most heated debate, is the woman pregnant, or is everyone seeing something that isn't there? This is the Arnolfini portrait, painted by Jan van Eyck in 1434, and it may be the most mysterious painting in the entire history of art. Today, we're unraveling theories that could forever change how you see this masterpiece. We begin our journey in 15th century Bruges, located in what is now Belgium, a thriving center of commerce where wealth flowed through the hands of merchants trading exotic goods across Europe. Before us stand two figures whose clothing alone tells a story of extraordinary prosperity. The woman wears an elaborate green gown lined with squirrel fur, a garment that, according to textile historians, may have required as many as 2,000 individual pelts to create. The man is dressed in a rich velvet tabard trimmed with marten fur, another unmistakable marker of wealth and elevated social status. They stand hand in hand in an intimate interior space. The man raises his other hand in what appears to be a solemn gesture, as if taking a vow, making a promise, or participating in some ceremonial moment. For centuries after this painting's creation, most viewers reached the same conclusion: this must be a wedding portrait, capturing a sacred moment of matrimonial union. But in 1934, exactly 500 years after the painting was created, influential art historian Erwin Panofsky proposed a revolutionary interpretation that transformed how the art world understood this work. According to Panofsky, the painting wasn't merely depicting a marriage, it was functioning as an actual legal record of the event itself. The key to this interpretation lies in a detail that many viewers initially overlook: a carefully painted inscription on the back wall of the room. Written in elaborate script, it reads, Johannes de Eyck fuit hic, Latin for Jan van Eyck was here. Unlike the discreet signatures found in some of Van Eyck's other works, this statement appears boldly integrated into the scene itself, as if it genuinely belonged to the moment being depicted, rather than being added afterward by the artist. For Panofsky, this unusual declaration meant far more than simply claiming authorship. Van Eyck was positioning himself as a witness to the marriage ceremony. Under this interpretation, the painting became something unprecedented, simultaneously a portrait and a legally binding document, visual proof that this union had taken place. If we follow Panofsky's logic, one element reinforces the idea that this painting serves as an official record: the circular mirror positioned just below the artist's signature. This isn't merely decorative, it's a technical masterpiece and a symbolic treasure trove. The convex mirror is framed by 10 tiny medallions, each one depicting a scene from the Passion of Christ, from his arrest through his crucifixion. This detail alone showcases Van Eyck's almost unbelievable virtuosity. Art historians believe he may have used brushes with a single hair to achieve such microscopic precision. But the mirror's importance goes beyond technical skill. Look closely at what it reflects. We see the backs of the couple standing in the room. We can make out the window, the chandelier hanging from the ceiling, the wooden beams above, and even oranges resting on the windowsill. Exotic luxuries at the time, affordable only to the wealthy elite. Yet the most enigmatic detail appears near the doorway reflected in the mirror. two additional figures, one dressed in blue and the other in red. According to Panofsky's interpretation, these aren't random bystanders or servants. They are witnesses to the ceremony. One of them, Panofsky suggested, might even be Jan van Eyck himself, inserting his physical presence into the scene to confirm his role as official observer. But not all art historians accepted Panofsky's wedding theory. Serious problems emerged almost immediately. Panofsky identified the couple as Giovanni di Arrigo Arnolfini and his wife, Giovanna Senami. However, later archival research revealed a fatal flaw. Giovanni di Arrigo didn't marry until 1447, 6 years after Jan van Eyck's death. This chronological impossibility forced scholars to reconsider the couple's identity entirely. The most convincing alternative candidate is Giovanni di Niccolao Arnolfini, a cousin of Giovanni di Arrigo and a wealthy merchant from Lucca, Italy, who spent most of his adult life conducting business in Bruges. If this identification is correct, then many details in the painting suddenly take on very different meanings, some of them quite dark. Consider the ornate brass chandelier suspended from the ceiling. Van Eyck painted it with astonishing precision, each curve catching light differently, every detail rendered as a deliberate display of artistic mastery. At first glance, it appears to be just another symbol of luxury and refinement. But scholars have long noticed something deeply unsettling. Only one candle is lit, despite the fact that daylight streams through the window. That single burning candle is positioned directly above the man's head.
Panofsky interpreted this as a ceremonial wedding candle, symbolizing the omniscient presence of God presiding over the marriage. Yet, on the opposite side, above the woman, we see another candle, but this one has completely burned down and gone out, leaving only a darkened wick. In the artistic tradition of memento mori, reminders of mortality, extinguished candles frequently symbolize the passage of time and the fragility of human life. This has led some scholars to propose a much darker possibility. Perhaps the woman had already died when this painting was created, while the man remained living. Under this interpretation, the painting would not be a wedding portrait at all, but rather a memorial portrait, a solemn tribute to a beloved wife who had passed away far too soon. Historian Christopher White Matthews Hassong gave decisive weight to this memorial interpretation in 2003. She dismissed Panofsky's wedding theory as historically improbable and proposed an alternative reading far more consistent with archival evidence. Historical records reveal that Giovanni di Niccolao Arnolfini's first wife, Costanza Trenta, died in 1433, just 1 year before the date inscribed in the painting. And all available evidence suggests she died during or shortly after childbirth, a tragically common fate for women in the 15th century.
Suddenly, many details of the painting begin to align with this heartbreaking possibility. Look behind the woman at the finely carved wooden chair. At the top of its post stands a small sculpted figure, a woman standing triumphantly on a dragon. Koster identifies this as Saint Margaret of Antioch, the patron saint of pregnant women and childbirth. According to medieval legend, Saint Margaret was swallowed whole by a dragon but miraculously emerged unharmed, a story that made her a powerful symbol of protection for expectant mothers. This brings us to the painting's central and most controversial question. Is the woman in this portrait actually pregnant? Koster insists absolutely that she is. Others vehemently disagree, arguing that the bulge of her dress is not evidence of pregnancy, but simply reflects the fashion of the period. In wealthy Europeans in the 15th century, it was common for women to wear long, heavy gowns with excess fabric deliberately gathered at the front, creating a rounded silhouette regardless of pregnancy. You can observe the same style in another Van Eyck painting, where the Virgin Mary wears a voluminous blue robe gathered in exactly the same manner, though she is clearly not meant to be pregnant in that particular scene. And since Giovanni Arnolfini was a fabric merchant, the extravagant display of expensive textiles on his wife would have functioned as advertisement for his profession and proof of his success. Yet, the memorial hypothesis remains compelling. If we accept this darker reading, then even seemingly innocent details transform into symbols of loss and mourning. The small dog at the couple's feet, for instance, which Panofsky interpreted as a symbol of marital fidelity, takes on new meaning. In funerary tradition, dogs frequently appear in memorial sculptures and paintings of deceased women, not only as symbols of love and loyalty, but also as spiritual guardians meant to accompany the deceased into the afterlife.
Even the mirror reinforces this interpretation. The 10 medallions framing it tell the story of Christ's passion, but they're not arranged randomly. On the left side are scenes showing Christ alive, his teachings, his miracles. On the right side are scenes of his suffering and death, the crucifixion and entombment. It's as if the couple themselves reflect this same division. The man on the left representing life, the woman on the right bound to death. So which interpretation is correct? The truth is, we may never know with absolute certainty. And perhaps that ambiguity is precisely what makes this painting so enduringly fascinating. Jan van Eyck possessed an almost supernatural ability to weave profound symbols into scenes that appear completely natural at first glance. Some historians see hidden messages encoded in every single object. Others argue for caution, suggesting that we shouldn't read meanings that weren't intended. Either way, nothing diminishes the serene beauty of this remarkable painting, nor the technical mastery with which Van Eyck captured a moment that feels impossibly alive even after 6 centuries. The Arnolfini portrait continues to guard its secrets, inviting each new generation to look closer, question deeper, and form their own interpretations of what they see. The mystery endures, and that's exactly how great art should work.